All right, my friends, conventional wisdom, myth destroyed. I'm telling you, pay your taxes now. Pay your taxes while you're working. I'm telling you, man, it occurred to me. As a self-employed person, basically, for every $100,000 I make, I pay $30,000 of taxes. For FICA, for state tax, for federal tax, the whole thing. But how do I pay that? It's not withheld. I have no paycheck. So I have to pay out of pocket. It's like my own escrow account, essentially. And let me tell you something, man. There's a hell of a lot of difference between paying your own escrow versus having withheld from a paycheck. I'm telling you right now, there's a big difference between cutting the check to the IRS every month, because I pay every month. I send a check to the IRS, which I won't say how much. But basically, let's just put it this way. Every time I write that check, I just basically said, I just worked with a certain amount of people for free. And it's a wonderful, I'm grateful for it. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for it. But this is where Ronald Reagan started becoming against the tax man, because he said when in the 1950s, I think the 50s, 40s, he said, once I make a certain threshold of income, the IRS takes 90% of my income. So basically at that stage, I am working for free. So he basically said, because back then it was like a 90% top marginal tax bracket. He goes, I'm literally working for free. Once I hit this certain tax bracket, everything I earn goes to the IRS. He goes, there's no incentive at all for me to continue to work. So that was his whole thing with marginal tax rates. And 30 years later, 20, 30 years later, he met Art Laffer, and the Laffer curve came to fruition. Very interesting. Anyway, point being is, when you pay your taxes out of pocket, it freaking sucks, dude. It's a hell of a lot different than having it withheld from your paycheck. I'm just telling you right now. I'm telling you. So when you're working with a W-2 and you never see that money to begin with, you always say, well, I'm bringing home $5,000 a month. I'm like, yeah, but you actually made $8,000 a month. But because of FICA, because of everything else, you had all this money withheld because of your 401k contributions. So yes, you might be bringing home $5,000 a month, but you actually had $8,000 a month is what your income was. So that $3,000 a month that is making into his checking account, a good amount of that would be going to tax, or goes to taxes. That you would have to cut a check on your own. I'm telling you, man, this is where I think the convention of wisdom on financial planning, retirement planning, is just screwed it, man, because they can spreadsheet. I'm telling you, I followed this for the longest time. Spreadsheet this, spreadsheet this, spreadsheet this. And this is where people say, I'm taking Social Security at 62. Their argument from a mathematical perspective is off. And the reason it's off because the delayed earnings credits are worth their weight in gold. The likelihood you dying before 78, not very high. I mean, you could. Not very high. But anyway, so 78 would be the break even roughly if you waited maybe 80. But I mean, you can't argue with the reasoning in terms, because you can't spreadsheet this. It's a matter of feeling, if that makes sense. Like Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize, and Amos Tversky, who did not because he died before it was issued, when they had written the book, when they had done the research on the pain of losing is twice the joy of winning, if that makes sense. So for every $100 you lose, it takes $200 to make you, not mathematically make you whole, but you need $200 for winning to offset $100 of losing, if that makes sense. And there's some variations to that, but that makes sense. Losing hurts so much more than winning is joyful, if that makes sense. So anyway, wait till you start having to cut the checks to the IRS on your own. Yeah, when you have to start escrowing your own taxes, it freaking sucks. And so you can spreadsheet all day long, but Josh, my 401k will be worth $1 million if I defer, but it's only worth $600,000 if I don't. I'm just using that for example. Yeah. And wait till you start taking money from that 401k. Forget the taxation on Social Security and all that. Just think about having to write that check to the IRS every single time you take a distribution. And it matters not what the distribution is for. It matters only that it's coming out of your account and you've got to pay tax on it. And I'm telling you, man, it's even worse too, by the way, is when you're when you have that money in your deferred account and that's all you got to live on, and you're like, man, I need $20,000, but it's going to cost me $25,000, and now all of a sudden your 401k has gone down by $25,000, even though it only costs you $20,000 to live on. Yeah, how do you quantify that in a spreadsheet? You can't. I'm just telling you, man, pay the taxes now, because writing checks to the IRS once you're retired, it's a whole lot worse than writing checks, having your taxes withheld when you got a W-2 income. I'm just telling you, man, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm writing a check to the IRS each and every month, and all as I sit there and I say, man, and I say, how many free clients did I have this month? And again, it's a great problem to have, but it's not fun. It's not fun paying those big taxes sometimes. We'll see you.